The Haelor ambush. The deep silence of space was broken by the arrival of the Haelor Empire's fleet. Dozens of their sleek, silver warships glided into position, surrounding the lone human cargo vessel like predators circling helpless prey. The Haelor captain, a tall figure with glistening blue scales and a stern expression, leaned forward in his command chair. "Prepare to board," he commanded, his voice cold and sharp. "These humans think they can wander into our territory with no consequences. Let's teach them a lesson." The human cargo ship drifted slowly, its lights dim and engines barely humming. It appeared vulnerable, unarmed, and outmatched against the powerful Haelor fleet. The Haelor officers chuckled among themselves, confident in their easy victory. "Pathetic," one of the officers sneered. "Do humans really believe they can move through our space without detection? Their technology is primitive at best." As the Haelors prepared their boarding vessels, the ship's insignia caught the captain's eye. It was a simple emblem, 2 crossed lines and a star in the center. Beneath it, the name of the ship was printed in bold letters, SS Indomitable. The captain frowned. "Indomitable," he muttered. "An odd name for such a fragile-looking vessel." A junior officer glanced at the insignia and hesitated. "Captain, I've heard rumors about human ships bearing that name. Some say they are not what they seem." "Rumors," the captain scoffed, waving dismissively. "Stories spread by weak minds. Humans are nothing compared to the might of the Haelor Empire. Proceed with the boarding operation." But as the Haelors closed in, the human ship suddenly emitted a strange, low-frequency signal. The Haelor sensors flickered, and the crew scrambled to regain control of their systems. "Captain, our scanners are failing," an officer shouted. "Impossible. Humans don't have this kind of technology." The captain snapped, his confidence now shaken. The cargo ship's exterior lights flickered before shutting off entirely. The ship seemed to vanish into the darkness of space. Panic spread through the Haelor fleet as their advanced tracking systems failed to locate it. "It's gone, Captain. We can't find it." "Foolishness," the captain barked, but even he could not hide the unease in his voice. He stared out at the empty void where the ship had been moments before. Then, a voice crackled through the fleet's communication systems. It was calm, steady, and unmistakably human. "You've made a mistake," the voice said. The Haelor crew froze. The captain's scales bristled as he gripped the edge of his chair. "Who dares?" Before he could finish, an energy surge rippled through the fleet. Haelor ships began losing power one by one, their engines sputtering and weapon systems going offline. "Emergency power," the captain shouted, but his command was met with chaos. Officers shouted over one another, desperately trying to restore control. The human ship reappeared, but it was no longer the defenseless cargo vessel they had seen. Panels on its hull shifted, revealing hidden weaponry and advanced energy emitters. It was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and the Haelor fleet had walked straight into its trap. A soft hum grew louder as the human ship prepared its next move. The voice returned, colder this time. "You should have left us alone." The first blast of energy struck the nearest Haelor ship, disabling it instantly. More beams followed, each one precise and devastating. The once mighty Haelor fleet, so confident in its superiority, was now in disarray. The Haelor captain's hands trembled as he watched his ships fall one by one. For the first time, he felt something he had never associated with humanity. Fear. "Retreat," he shouted. "All ships, retreat." But it was too late. The human ship emitted a final pulse, locking down the Haelor fleet's engines. They were trapped, powerless to escape. In the silence that followed, the captain stared at the glowing human ship on his view screen. His arrogance had led them here, and now he understood the truth. Humans were not weak. They were not to be underestimated. And attacking them had been a grave mistake. Unseen retaliation. The Haelor fleet hung motionless in space, their sleek ships now dim shadows of their former glory. Inside the flagship, Captain Kravix paced the command deck, his sharp claws clicking against the metal floor. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. A single human cargo ship had turned his fleet into sitting ducks. "Status report," he barked. An officer scrambled to respond. "Shields are down. Weapon systems are offline. Engines, unresponsive." "How?" Kravix growled. "Humans shouldn't have this capability." As the Haelor crew struggled to restore control, the human ship moved with eerie precision. It glided through the formation like a predator studying its prey. Every Haelor scanner and targeting system remained blind, unable to track it. Suddenly, panels on the human ship opened, releasing dozens of small, spherical drones. The drones were silent and nearly invisible, blending into the darkness. They swarmed the Haelor ships, latching onto their hulls like parasites. "What are those things?" Kravix demanded. The answer came swiftly. One by one, the drones began emitting concentrated electromagnetic pulses. Systems that were already crippled now sparked and smoked, plunging the Haelor ships into chaos. Lights flickered, life support systems faltered, and the crew could only watch in horror as their once mighty fleet was dismantled piece by piece. "Captain," an officer whispered, his voice trembling. "They're not trying to destroy us." Kravix turned sharply. "What are you saying?" "They're disabling us, leaving us alive." Kravix's eyes narrowed. This wasn't an act of mercy, it was a message. A new kind of enemy. On board the human ship, Commander Elena Ford observed the Haelor fleet through a holographic display. Her crew worked quietly, their movements precise and efficient. There was no need for chatter. Every step of the operation had been meticulously planned. "They're beginning to panic," one of her officers reported. "Good," Elena replied. Her tone was calm, but her eyes burned with intensity. "Let them. They need to understand what happens when they underestimate humanity." Elena had been part of the team that developed the Ghost Fleet, a top-secret project born from humanity's desperation. For years, alien empires had viewed Earth as weak, a planet ripe for exploitation. They didn't realize that humanity's apparent vulnerability was a carefully crafted illusion. The cargo ship was one of their prototypes, an unassuming vessel outfitted with advanced cloaking technology, automated drones, and experimental weapons. It was a trap designed to lure in overconfident attackers like the Haelor Empire. "Commander," another officer interrupted. "They're attempting to send a distress signal." "Block it," Elena ordered. The Haelor's desperate move. Kravix clenched his fists as the communications officer shook his head. "Our signal isn't getting through, Captain. They've jammed our frequencies." The Haelor captain's mind raced. If they couldn't call for reinforcements, they were truly at the mercy of these humans. The thought was unthinkable. The Haelor Empire had crushed countless civilizations. Humanity was supposed to be no different. "Arm the self-destruct systems," Kravix said at last, his voice cold. The bridge crew froze. "Captain, if we do that, we'll lose the fleet entirely," one officer stammered. "We've already lost it," Kravix roared. "Better to destroy our ships than let them fall into human hands." The officers hesitated but obeyed, initiating the countdown for the self-destruct sequence. The crew braced themselves for the end. But then, the human voice returned over their comms, calm and confident. "Self-destruction won't save you," it said. Kravix's scales bristled. "Who are you?" "I'm the one teaching you this lesson," the voice replied. "And here's your next one. Your ships belong to us now." The turning point. As the Haelors watched, the human drones activated once more. This time, they bypassed the Haelor systems entirely, taking direct control of the fleet. Screens lit up with unfamiliar symbols as the self-destruct sequence was overridden. "Impossible," Kravix whispered, sinking into his chair. One by one, the Haelor ships powered back on. But now, they were under human control. The flagship's weapons rotated, aiming at its own fleet. "Captain, they've hijacked us," an officer cried. A holographic image appeared on the Haelor bridge, revealing the face of Commander Elena Ford. She stared at Kravix with an expression of quiet fury. "This is what happens when you treat us like prey," she said. "Remember this moment. Spread the word. Humanity is not weak. We are not your servants. And if you come for us again, we will finish what we started." Kravix said nothing. For the first time in his long career, he felt truly powerless. The human ship released another pulse, disabling the Haelor fleet entirely. The drones returned to their host, and the humans disappeared into the void. The Haelor Empire's flagship floated in silence, its crew stunned and broken. As the seconds ticked by, Kravix stared at the void where the humans had been. He didn't know what kind of monsters humanity had become, but one thing was clear: they had made a grave mistake. Humanity's hidden strength. The Haelor fleet floated helplessly in the silence of space, their systems offline, and their once mighty captain, Kravix, consumed by defeat. But as the Haelors struggled to comprehend their humiliation, the truth behind humanity's rise remained hidden until now. The Ghost Fleet's origin. Years earlier, humanity had reached a breaking point. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, dominated by empires that saw Earth as a resource-rich backwater. Earth's initial attempts at diplomacy were met with derision, and peaceful trade ships were often raided or destroyed. Earth's leaders, desperate to protect their people, convened in secret. Hidden beneath layers of bureaucracy and classified files, a project was born. It was called the Ghost Fleet Initiative. The initiative was led by Dr. Haelor Voss, a brilliant but enigmatic scientist. She believed that humanity's apparent weakness could become its greatest strength. Instead of building massive fleets to compete with alien powers, humanity would create a small but deadly force that no enemy could predict or match. The breakthrough technology. Dr. Voss and her team developed revolutionary technology. Among their creations were cloaking devices, ships capable of becoming nearly invisible to all known forms of detection. AI-controlled drones, machines designed for precision and efficiency in combat, able to outmaneuver and overpower traditional fleets. EMP pulses, weapons that disabled enemies without massive destruction, leaving them vulnerable and humiliated. Holo-Hive AI systems, advanced artificial intelligence capable of hijacking enemy systems and turning their own technology against them. The final step was creating a facade of weakness. Humanity intentionally left their civilian ships lightly armed, allowing stories of human helplessness to spread through the galaxy. Every attack by alien empires was analyzed, their tactics recorded, and their weaknesses cataloged. The SS Indomitable's first mission. The SS Indomitable was the first operational prototype of the Ghost Fleet. It was designed to look like a standard cargo vessel, complete with fake registry logs and outdated tech that screamed easy target. The mission was simple: lure an overconfident enemy into attacking, then cripple them. The Haelor Empire, with its arrogance and history of aggression, was the perfect candidate. Back in Earth's military command center, General Tobias Kane observed the operation with quiet pride. The holographic display in the war room showed every movement of the Haelor fleet and the Indomitable's maneuvers. "They took the bait," Kane said, addressing Dr. Voss. "As expected," she replied. "The Haelors can't resist an easy target. But this isn't just about winning a battle." Kane raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "This is a message," Dr. Voss explained, her voice calm yet firm. "The galaxy has treated us like prey for too long. Today, we show them we are something else entirely." The galactic broadcast. Back at the site of the ambush, Commander Elena Ford prepared for the final phase of the mission. The disabled Haelor fleet was a powerful symbol, but she knew it wasn't enough. Humanity needed to send a message that would reach every corner of the galaxy. "Activate the relay," she ordered. The Indomitable deployed a stealth drone equipped with a long-range broadcasting array. The drone linked to the Haelor flagship's communication system, hijacking its signal. Within moments, The entire galactic network lit up with a live feed of the defeated Haelor fleet. Viewers from countless species watched in shock as the once feared Haelor warships floated powerless in space. A message appeared on the broadcast. "This is Earth. To all who seek to harm us, take heed. We are not prey. We are the storm." The broadcast then shifted to show Commander Ford standing on the bridge of the Indomitable. Her face was calm, but her words carried an edge of steel. The Haelor Empire believed humanity was weak. They attacked without provocation, thinking we would fall as others had before us. But today, we stand united, stronger than ever. This fleet is your warning. The next time you come for Earth, you will find no mercy. Krevix's realization. Aboard the Haelor flagship, Captain Krevix watched the broadcast in stunned silence. His mind raced as he replayed the words. This wasn't just a defeat, it was a humiliation on a galactic scale. The Haelor Empire's reputation as a dominant power was shattered, and it was all because of the humans they had underestimated. "We've been blind," he muttered to himself. An officer hesitated before speaking. "Captain, what do we do now?" Krevix didn't answer immediately. His pride screamed for revenge, but a deeper instinct told him the humans were far more dangerous than he'd imagined. "We retreat," he said finally, his voice heavy. "And we warn the Emperor. Humanity is not what we thought." A quiet celebration. As the Indomitable slipped back into the void, cloaking once more, the crew allowed themselves a moment of quiet celebration. The mission was a success, but the war wasn't over. In her private quarters, Commander Ford stared out at the stars, her thoughts heavy. The galaxy would see humanity differently now, but with recognition came new dangers. "Let them come," she whispered to herself. "We'll be ready." The battle turns. The Haelor fleet was in shambles, their systems hijacked and their pride shattered. Captain Krevix, once confident in his empire's superiority, stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by the blinking lights of failing consoles. The faint hum of life support was the only sound, a grim reminder of their helplessness. "What is the status of our remaining ships?" Krevix demanded, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. "2/3 of the fleet is completely disabled, Captain," an officer replied. "The rest have minimal functionality, but no weapons or shields." "Unacceptable." Krevix slammed a fist on his command chair. "We are the Haelor Empire. We cannot be defeated by these humans." But even as he shouted, the reality of their situation was impossible to deny. The humans had outmaneuvered them, and now their humiliation was being broadcast across the galaxy. The humans' next move. On board the SS Indomitable, Commander Elena Ford studied the holographic display of the disabled Haelor fleet. Her crew worked in synchronized silence, their focus unwavering. The battle wasn't over yet. "Status report on the fleet," she asked. "All Haelor ships are under our control, Commander," her second-in-command, Lieutenant Anders, replied. "They're unable to move or fire. They're completely at our mercy." Elena nodded. "Good. Begin Phase 2. Anders hesitated. "Are we sure about this, ma'am?" "It's risky." Elena met his gaze, her voice firm. "We've already shown them our strength. Now we show them our precision. Initiate Phase 2. The Indomitable emitted a low-frequency pulse, sending a new set of commands to the drones still latched onto the Haelor ships. Slowly, the Haelor fleet began to move, but not under their own control. The puppet fleet. The Haelor crew watched in horror as their ships turned toward one another, forming a perfect circle. Engines fired up, and the vessels began a slow, deliberate rotation. "Captain, our ships are moving," an officer shouted. "Who gave that order?" Krevix roared. "No one, sir. The humans. They're controlling us." The Haelor ships moved like pieces on a game board, their precise formation a testament to the humans' mastery of their technology. Each vessel's weapons, though inactive, aimed directly at another Haelor ship. The message was clear. With a single command, the humans could destroy the entire fleet. The psychological strike. On the Indomitable, Alina observed the Haelor's panic with a cold detachment. "Activate comms," she said. Moments later, her image appeared on every screen aboard the Haelor ships. "Captain Kravix," she began, her tone measured and calm. "You've seen what we can do. We control your ships, your weapons, your lives. At any moment, we could destroy you, but we haven't. Do you know why?" Kravix glared at the screen but said nothing. "Because destruction isn't our goal," Alina continued. "We want you alive. We want you to remember this day, to carry this humiliation back to your empire. And most importantly, we want you to understand that humanity is no longer your prey." Alina leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Tell your emperor, if you come for us again, we will not stop at defense. We will come for you." Kravix's gambit. Kravix's fists clenched as the human commander's image disappeared from the screen. His crew looked to him for guidance, their faces pale and their confidence shattered. "Captain," his first officer said cautiously, "what do we do?" Kravix took a deep breath. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about preserving the dignity of the Haelor Empire. "We will not give them the satisfaction of parading us like trophies," he said. "Prepare a countermeasure. We may be disabled, but we are not defeated." His officers hesitated, but one by one, they began to act. Kravix had a plan, though even he wasn't sure it would work. The counterattack that wasn't. The Haelor crew worked feverishly to reboot their systems, but every attempt was met with failure. The humans' eye was too advanced, their control too complete. "Captain, we're locked out," an officer reported. "We can't even initiate a counterattack." "Then we'll make them come to us," Kravix growled. He ordered his crew to flood the communications network with false distress signals, hoping to lure the humans into making a mistake. On the Indomitable, the ploy was immediately detected. "They're trying to draw us in," Anders said. Alina smirked. "Desperate. Let them try. We don't take risks we don't control. Maintain distance." The Indomitable remained steady, its crew unmoved by the Haelor's feeble attempts to retaliate. The final blow. As the Haelor ships spun in their helpless orbit, Alina gave her final command. "Deploy the signature scramblers." The drones emitted a powerful signal that wiped the Haelor ships' identification codes from galactic databases. From this moment on, the Haelor fleet was invisible to their own empire. They couldn't call for help or be recognized by any Haelor outpost. Kravix's flagship drifted into silence. His fleet was now a phantom, erased from existence by the very species he had underestimated. Alina watched as the Haelor fleet began to drift apart, their formation breaking. "Disengage the drones," she said. "Let them float. They're no longer a threat." The Indomitable cloaked and vanished, leaving the Haelor fleet adrift in the void. The Haelor Empire's secrets. Captain Kravix slumped in his chair, his once proud posture now weighed down by despair. The bridge was silent except for the faint hum of life support. His crew looked to him, but no words came. His mind swirled with questions, doubts, and the bitter taste of failure. Suddenly, an alert blared through the ship's remains of a functional console. The humans hadn't left entirely unnoticed. Something had changed. The humans' boarding party. On the Indomitable, Commander Alina Ford prepared for the next phase of their operation. The Haelor fleet was neutralized, but the mission wasn't over. Humanity needed more than a victory. They needed information. "Launch the boarding drones," she ordered. Dozens of sleek, spider-like machines detached from the Indomitable and latched onto the Haelor ships. They burned through airlocks with surgical precision, releasing teams of human operatives clad in advanced combat suits. Kravix's ship was the first target. His crew scrambled to defend themselves, but with their weapons offline and their morale broken, resistance was futile. The operatives moved like shadows, their suits rendering them nearly invisible. Within minutes, they reached the bridge. "Captain Kravix," a voice called through the comms. Kravix turned to see a holographic image of Commander Ford, appear on the bridge's central display. "You fought well," Alina said, her tone polite but firm. "But this battle is over. Your ship is now ours. Cooperate, and no harm will come to your crew." Krevik sneered but said nothing. His silence spoke volumes. Discovering the secrets. As the human operatives swept through the Haelor flagship, they began downloading encrypted data from its central systems. What they uncovered sent shockwaves through the team. "Commander," one of the operatives reported, "you need to see this." Alina studied the data on her console. The files detailed plans for a massive invasion of Earth, one that was already in its advanced stages. The Haelor Empire had been preparing for years, using smaller raids to study human responses and weaknesses. But that wasn't all. The files also revealed a hidden side of the Haelor Empire, a dark network of experimentation and subjugation. Countless species had been enslaved, their planets stripped of resources, their people used for brutal experiments. "This isn't just about us," Alina murmured. "They'd been doing this to everyone." The galactic broadcast. Alina made a quick decision. Humanity had to act, not just for themselves but for the galaxy. Using the Haelor flagship systems, she initiated another broadcast. This one wasn't just to taunt the Haelors, it was to expose them. The broadcast began with images of the defeated Haelor fleet, followed by the data recovered from their systems. Plans for Earth's invasion were displayed, along with evidence of the Haelors' atrocities. Footage of alien species suffering under Haelor rule played for billions to see. "This is humanity," Alina said, her voice resonating across the galaxy. "We have suffered under the Haelor Empire's aggression, but we are not their only victims. To all those who have felt their cruelty, know this: you are not alone. Together, we can stand against them." The message ended with the image of the defeated Haelor fleet, now a symbol of defiance against tyranny. The Haelor crew's horror. Krevix watched the broadcast in stunned silence. He could feel the weight of his empire's secrets crashing down on him. The files the humans had exposed were meant to remain hidden, their existence known only to the highest ranks of the Haelor government. "They've ruined us," an officer whispered. Krevix's claws dug into his armrests. "Silence," he hissed. But deep down, he knew it was true. The galaxy would never see the Haelor Empire the same way again. The Haelor Empire's fracture. Across the galaxy, the broadcast ignited a firestorm. Neutral species, once hesitant to challenge the Haelors, began rallying together. Long subjugated planets erupted in rebellion. Even within the Haelor Empire, cracks began to form. High-ranking officials demanded answers from the Emperor. How had humanity, a species they had mocked as primitive, managed to outwit and humiliate them? Worse, how had they exposed secrets that could destabilize the Empire? The Haelor Emperor, furious and desperate, ordered a full review of the fleet's defeat. But as rebellion spread and alliances formed against them, the Empire's resources were stretched thin. Humanity's resolve. Back on Earth, the leaders of humanity watched the galactic response unfold. Alliances that had seemed impossible were now forming, with species once fearful of the Haelors now turning to humanity for leadership. In the war room, General Tobias Kane turned to Alina. "You've started something big," he said. "The galaxy is watching us now." Alina nodded. "Let them watch. We've shown them what we're capable of. Now we prepare for what's next." As the Indomitable slipped into the void, cloaked and silent, humanity's path forward was clear. The galaxy had underestimated them, but they wouldn't make that mistake again. The warning. The SS Indomitable remained cloaked, observing the defeated Haelor fleet as it drifted in the void. Inside the ship, Commander Alina Ford stood at the center of the command deck, her gaze fixed on the holographic display. The Haelors had been exposed, their power shaken, but humanity's message wasn't yet complete. "We've humiliated them," Lieutenant Anders said cautiously. "What's our next move?" Alina's expression hardened. "We don't just fight battles. We change the game. Prepare to deliver the warning." Delivering the message. Using the Haelor flagship's communication systems, the Indomitable broadcast directly to the Haelor Empire's Central Command. The message bypassed all security protocols, appearing on every screen in the Emperor's war chambers. The Haelor Emperor, a towering figure with dark, iridescent scales, watched as Commander Elena Ford's image appeared before him. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the tension in the room. "This is Commander Elena Ford of the human ship Indomitable," she began. "You've underestimated us, Emperor. Your fleet is neutralized. Your secrets are exposed. And now, the galaxy knows the truth about your empire." The Emperor's voice boomed through the chamber. "Human, you dare speak to me as an equal?" Elena's eyes narrowed. "Equal? No. Today, humanity has proven that we surpass you in ways you never imagined." The Emperor's advisors murmured nervously as Elena continued. "This is your only warning," she said, her voice steady but firm. "If you come for us again, there will be no mercy. We won't just defend ourselves. We'll strike at the heart of your empire. And next time, there will be no survivors." The demonstration. To emphasize her point, Elena ordered the activation of the drones still attached to the Haelor flagship. In a synchronized display, they powered the Haelor ship's weapons and aimed them directly at a nearby asteroid. The asteroid, a massive celestial body, exploded into 1,000 pieces as the weapons fired. The sheer precision of the attack left the Emperor and his advisors speechless. "That," Elena said, her voice cold, "is what we can do with your ships. Imagine what we can do with our own." The transmission ended, leaving the Haelor command in stunned silence. The Emperor's reaction. The Haelor Emperor turned to his advisors, his expression unreadable. "What do we know of their ghost fleet?" "Little, Your Majesty," one advisor replied. "Their technology is far beyond what we expected. And with their broadcast, the galaxy will now see them as a rising power." The Emperor clenched his fists. "This is unacceptable. I want every resource directed toward understanding their technology. We will find a way to counter this human ingenuity." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his voice. The humans had achieved the unthinkable. They had defeated his fleet, exposed his empire's secrets, and issued a warning that could not be ignored. The ripple effect. Across the galaxy, the warning spread like wildfire. Neutral species, once content to avoid the Haelor Empire, now saw an opportunity to stand against their oppressors. Resistance movements grew bolder, rallying around the idea that if humans could defy the Haelors, so could they. The galactic news channels replayed the warning over and over, turning Commander Elena Ford into a symbol of resistance. Her final words became a rallying cry. "We won't just defend ourselves. We'll strike at the heart of tyranny." Humanity's resolve. Back on Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered to assess the situation. The warning had been delivered, but the stakes were higher than ever. General Tobias Kane stood at the head of the table, his expression grim. "We've won a battle, but the war is far from over. The Haelors won't sit idle for long." Elena nodded. "That's why we don't sit idle either. We've shown them what we can do. Now we prepare for what comes next." "What about the alliances forming across the galaxy?" one leader asked. "We'll support them," Elena said, "but carefully. Trust is earned, not given. We can't afford to reveal all our secrets." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Humanity had entered a new era, one where they were no longer victims, but players in a dangerous game. The Ghost Fleet's next mission. As the Indomitable and its crew disappeared back into the shadows of space, Elena stood alone in her quarters, staring out at the stars. She knew the warning had bought them time, but it wouldn't last forever. "The galaxy is watching now," she murmured. "Let them watch. We're ready." The Ghost Fleet, humanity's greatest secret, remained hidden, a silent force waiting for the next challenge. And when it came, the Haelor Empire and the galaxy would learn that humanity didn't just survive. They thrived. The aftermath. The galaxy had changed overnight. The Haelor fleet's defeat, the revelation of their empire's cruelty, and humanity's chilling warnings spread like wildfire across star systems. From bustling trade hubs to remote colonies, the name Earth now carried a new weight. Humanity was no longer dismissed as a minor player. They had become a force to be reckoned with. The fallout within the Haelor Empire. In the heart of the Haelor Empire, the Emperor convened an emergency council. The Grand Chamber, once a place of triumph and command, now felt heavy with unease. "Our fleet is lost," an admiral reported, his voice trembling. "The humans have humiliated us on a galactic scale." The Emperor's claws tapped rhythmically on his throne. "And the rebellions? They're spreading," another advisor admitted. "The broadcast has emboldened our subjugated worlds. They believe humanity's actions have weakened us." The Emperor rose, his towering form casting a long shadow. "Then we must remind them why they fear us. Assemble the remaining fleets, crush the rebellions. And as for humanity..." He paused, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "We will study them, understand their technology, and when the time comes, we will destroy them." Rising allies. While the Haelors scrambled to maintain control, other species saw an opportunity. The broadcast had not only revealed the Haelor Empire's crimes, but also humanity's resilience. On the aquatic world of Trellian, representatives from multiple species met in secret. Leaders who had once avoided direct confrontation with the Haelors now discussed forming an alliance. "If the humans can defeat the Haelor fleet," a Trellian ambassador said, her fins rippling with determination, "then together, we can stand against them too." "They've given us hope," another leader added, "but we must ensure their goals align with ours." Humanity is powerful and unpredictable. Humanity's reflection. On Earth, in the towering halls of the United Alliance Council, humanity's leaders met to discuss their next steps. "We've done what no one thought possible," General Tobias Kane said, addressing the room. "But this victory has painted a target on our backs." Dr. Ilara Voss, the mastermind behind the Ghost Fleet, nodded. "The galaxy now knows what we're capable of. That fear will buy us time, but it will also bring scrutiny. We must be ready for retaliation, not just from the Haelors, but from those who might envy or fear us." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled over them. "What's the plan?" one leader asked. Elena Ford, freshly returned from the Indomitable, stood and spoke with quiet conviction. "We fortify our defenses, expand the Ghost Fleet, and we work with potential allies, carefully. The galaxy needs to see that while we can defend ourselves, we are not aggressors." "And the Haelors?" Kane asked. Elena's gaze was steady. "If they strike again, we won't just defend. We'll end the threat once and for all." The Ghost Fleet expands. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, hidden within the icy shadows, the Ghost Fleet's shipyards thrived in secret. Engineers worked tirelessly, constructing new ships equipped with even more advanced technology. Elena visited the shipyards, inspecting the progress. Rows of sleek, matte black vessels stood ready, their surfaces shimmering with cloaking fields. Each ship represented humanity's resolve, a silent promise that Earth would never be vulnerable again. As she walked the length of the shipyard, Dr. Voss joined her. "They'll come for us again," Elena said. "Yes," Voss replied, her voice calm. "But this time, we won't be reacting. We'll be leading." The galaxy watches. Across the stars, species that had once ignored humanity now watched with a mixture of awe and caution. Galactic news networks replayed humanity's warning, analysts debating its implications. On the neutral world of Esperan Prime, a popular commentator summed up the galaxy's sentiment. "Humanity has shown us something remarkable. They were underestimated, treated as prey. And now they've risen as a force capable of toppling giants. But with power comes responsibility. Will they be protectors, or will they become the very thing they fought against?" The final scene, a quiet threat. In the void between galaxies, A massive Haelor fleet drifted silently, cloaked in secrecy. These were the Emperor's most loyal ships, untouched by the recent defeat. Inside the flagship, a Haelor scientist presented his findings to the Emperor. "We've begun reverse engineering the humans' technology," the scientist said, his voice eager. "Their advancements are impressive, but we are making progress." The Emperor's lips curled into a cold smile. "Good. Let them think they've won. Let the galaxy rally around them. When the time is right, we will strike, and this time we will leave nothing behind." Humanity's quiet vigilance. On board the Indomitable, Alina stood on the observation deck, gazing at the stars. She knew this was only the beginning. The Haelors would return, stronger and more determined, but humanity wouldn't wait passively. "Let them come," she whispered. "We've learned their ways, and we'll be ready." As the ship cloaked and vanished into the endless void, humanity's resolve burned brighter than ever. They were no longer the prey. They were the storm, waiting to unleash their full fury when the time came.